After we recorded the last video, questions kept rolling in and they're actually really good. So we're going to go through another round, another Q&A. First question. Will doing a sprint every, say, 30 minutes during a long ride destroy the gains? Those typically associated with a traditional long ride I could have had if I had just done the ride at steady power. Will doing a sprint every 30 minutes... So yeah, doing sprints on an endurance ride regularly, does that ruin the gains?
Every 30 minutes is probably too much.
One sprint every 30 minutes.
Big ride.
Yeah, that would be very fatiguing. It wouldn't ruin the gains. I just don't think that's a good idea to be doing every endurance ride because that's a lot of fatigue you'll do every time. So every now and again, for sure, it's fine. But yeah, if you're doing that every ride, that will impact and that would be unnecessary. What frequency do you recommend for blood testing? Found out a few days ago I had almost exhausted my iron stores, but didn't have low hemoglobin, thankfully. Well, good you caught that early because you will end up with low hemoglobin if you're running your iron stores low, your ferritin. So,
great question.
Yeah.
It's actually awesome that you're asking this question because both Jesse and I think this is something that cyclists don't do enough of, and that is test themselves because there's a lot of information to be gleaned from this. Personally, my own experience, I do it every 3 months.
Yeah. I mean, I probably recommend, like, most people don't test at all. So maybe to begin with, every 6 months. I used to do that. I don't get blood tests anymore because I'm very, very stable and I don't need to test. But yeah, I mean, start with every 6 months. Do that for a year or two, and then if you find that you're all good and everything's stable, nothing changes, then you probably don't need to test too often. Unless things, maybe if you change your diet or things change in life, you might want to get back into it.
I do think it's worth doing, especially if you are starting to ramp up your training, then it is something to pay attention to. Definitely. Because your body will react to that stress.
Yeah. And also being aware of what the conditions are when you get the blood test. Because if you get a blood test and you've come off a massive training block, it might not be your regular value. So just getting one, even saying getting one every 6 months isn't necessarily great. Ideally, the time you get the blood test is a relatively normal, you're at a healthy stage. Otherwise, it's, not going to be great.
Go get blood tests, people.
Yeah. If you're in Australia, at least, they're free. Just go to your doctor and tell them you feel tired and they'll order one. You've said before that a RAM test isn't accurate for FTP estimation. Can you elaborate why? Because your FTP is your power you can do for 1 hour, and a RAM test ramps up in 1 minute intervals and only lasts about 10 minutes, and you're taking your peak 1 minute value. So a traditional ramp test is testing your maximal aerobic power, your VO2 max power. That is different from the power you can hold for an hour. It just is, right? Now you can estimate FTP from a ramp test, but that is an estimation. And that will vary depending on your physiology. If you have you might be a track endurance rider coming off the track and have this incredible peak 4 minute power and perform really well in a ramp test, but your FTP might not be as great in comparison. So just by the nature of the test, it's not accurate. I mean, it might be, but obviously, yeah. This is the test. It's a ramp test. It's not an FTP test. Stanwell Tops or Akuna Bay. Those are two locations in Sydney. Visiting from Singapore with my bike, just did them both. I have my preference. So for those of you that aren't in Sydney, Stanwell Tops is a ride if you go down south in the Royal National Park south of Sydney. And then there's a sort of a similar thing north. You've got the National Park north of Sydney. They're both kind of equal distance from the CBD. So it's like a bit of a, are you a north sider or a south sider? Chris?
So I live in Balmain and it is equidistant, either option, right? So I reckon I'm the perfect person to answer this. Stanwell Tops, if it is a group, so when I say group, I mean 4 plus. Definitely Stanwell Tops. You get a much better group run on some of the lanes, some of the highways, all that kind of stuff. if it is 4 or less, Akuna Bay every day of the week. It is far more picturesque, it's more challenging, it's a better ride, basically, I reckon. And if it's solo, obviously it's Akuna every day of the week.
Reason, yeah, I 100% agree. Akuna, you've got a better shoulder to ride on. So especially if you're solo or you're not going early in the morning, going down to Stanwell Tops, is the road, yeah, you in with traffic, it's not great. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think, yep, Akuna.
A lot of it's based on where you are staying, though. Like if you are, anyway,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Akuna.
Finding it hard to get consistency in training. Just caught COVID.
Got it.
Sorry to hear. Figure I'm out for at least a week to 10 days.
Oh, we're going to get a Kyle rant here.
How long do you... I'll finish the question.
I'll just sit over here.
How long do you think it takes to make up the loss in fitness, and what do you suggest the first week back looks like? Love the channel. Thanks, Aussie Freediver. Okay, firstly, please don't... If you get sick or if you get COVID, don't give yourself this blanket duration you're going to be. You could literally be out for a month. Or it could be a cold and you're back in 3 days. So it really grinds, as you can tell, it grinds my gears when it's like, I got COVID, I need 10 days off. Because doctors sometimes will just hand that stuff out. But it's like, don't even think about that. You got to take these things day by day, and thinking about how long you're going to be having symptoms for and be sick for is just unproductive. It's just, you got to rest and take it day by day and get healthy again. Whether that's 3 days, 3 weeks, it's out of your hands. So I would just say, don't worry about estimating how long you're going to be out for. You don't know. So how long does it take to make up the loss in fitness? It depends. It depends how long. If you're out for a week, you probably won't lose any fitness. So you might feel crap for the first couple of rides back, but you haven't necessarily lost fitness if it's that. If you're 2 or 3 weeks off, then yeah, you are going to lose a bit of fitness. So anything, you generally, as the most blanket general statement, if it's over a week, then pretty much you can double the time you had off as a duration to get back to fitness. So if you have 2 weeks off, you're probably looking at 4 weeks of training to be roughly where you were before you took the time off. Anything a week or less, you're not losing fitness. You just a couple rides back and do that. What do you suggest the first week back looks like? We answered that question in the previous Q&A. I think Chris said, don't be too competitive with your mates. I said, don't look at power. Just get sensations back.
Ride by yourself.
Yeah. Don't stress too much. Did Mohoric really benefit from having a dropper seat post? Or was it just his willingness to take risks that made him descend faster? Great question.
Little column A, little column B for me, but you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll hit this up. Because I really like this question because I think the whole drop a seat post thing was a bit overblown. So in terms of his descending, I think it definitely helped. But if you look at the dropper post, it only drops I'm holding my hands up if you're not watching. It only drops 3 or 4 centimeters. It's not much. It's only a little drop. So I think for the actual descent, it would have helped. It would have helped him descend faster. Chris can maybe talk about that. But I heard people saying the dropper post helps because it makes him way more aero and a lot faster. And I just don't almost saying that having a dropper post is similar to sitting on the top tube. And I'm like, no way, the thing barely moved. So in terms of the aerodynamics after the descent, between the bottom of the descent and the finish line, I don't think the dropper post made any difference. You're not saving that many watts by dropping your seat post a little bit. And then you got the awkwardness of the pedal stroke because your saddle feels too low. But yeah, definitely pushing the limits on the descent, I think that can make more of a difference.
Yeah,
for the corner.
For me, it's dropping the post physically allowed him to clear his butt, basically, and be able to then put more weight over the edge of the bike. But you have to be willing to do that. He has then he's potentially like broadened the amount of like danger that he's able to do, and he was willing to do that. Like, it's not as if you put a dropper post on my bike, I'd suddenly become a better descender or go faster. I've then got to take advantage of that component and push myself further. Like, essentially lean the bike over further. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
And he was willing to lean the bike over further, to carve out that corner. Like, like it's, you answered the question in your question, really. I mean, he's been, what was the second half of the question?
Or was it just his willingness to take risks that made him fast? Yeah, it's like you have to be willing to you have to be on the limit, and then the dropper post helps you extend that. I don't think for the average person the dropper post I don't think it extends your comfort zone descending.
No.
If you already get a bit nervous when you're starting to tip it in, I don't think the dropper post is going to help you extend that out.
Ben Carmen made a great comment in our team chat, which was like, he was the only guy at the start line who was basically willing to risk his life to win that race. And he knew it, and he used that to his advantage. He was like, you know what, I'm willing to go beyond where anyone else in this bike race is willing to go. And he did, and it worked.
Yep. For what it's worth, I think he would have done the same thing if he didn't have the dropper post. We've seen him bomb descents before. I think, yeah.
We give a shout to FSA at this point, team sponsor. Well done. Because the FSA went to him with the idea.
Oh, interesting. How Nero selects members.
There's a video on that. I'll get you to put the link below.
Yep.
On that. There's a public EOI that normally comes out in September. Basically, that's how it starts.
Yeah.
We're the only team that does a public EOI.
Yeah. Yeah, don't expect a tap on the shoulder. I don't know, that was Bernie Sanders asking. If you're a weapon, please apply. We're not going to approach you. Hey there, Jesse. I'm going to start my volume training next week. I'm a software engineer and have 2 dogs to take care of. What should I be prepared for to take the training in an effective manner? And also, should I complete the training on the same time of day? Or can I do one training in the morning and the next in the evening? So to answer the first bit, what should I be prepared for? Be prepared.
To walk your dogs.
Yeah.
I suppose.
I think be prepared to be tired. Like, especially when you start, you will need to go throughout the day with just carrying more fatigue than you're used to. Every time you get up from your chair, your legs will be sore. Every time you sit down, your legs will be sore. And I think it takes...
You'll be hungry all the time.
Yeah, you'll be more hungry. Geez, we're really selling it. Training. Just be prepared that, it's gonna completely change how you feel through most of your day. You can manage that obviously with how your nutrition is and how you manage your training load to make it sustainable, but you will come with downsides. You're not going to be super chirpy and happy-go-lucky all the time necessarily.
It's a good question though, because I think maybe that does like shock people, because essentially that's what training is. It's like tearing you down, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that feeling of fatigue is just your body doing the recovery. And planning your day around that. I mean, you don't probably want to do a really important meeting 20 minutes after you've just finished your VO2 set.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What was the second half of that question?
Yeah, should I complete the training on the same particular time of day or do one in the morning, one in the evening? In general, do it morning or evening, it doesn't matter. Just there's 2 caveats to that. Just be aware, it's pretty obvious, like if you're training, let's say you're training on a Wednesday night, the session you do on a Thursday morning you're going to struggle a bit more. Quality is likely not going to be as high, so keep that in mind. And also you can use your session timing to get more out of the week. So for example, if you do have flexibility to train in the morning or the evening, then sometimes moving a session from the morning to the evening can give you some extra recovery time. So that, yeah, maybe you wake up and you're like, oh, there's no way I would have gotten that ride done, but you actually get through the day, get a couple of meals in, you actually feel a bit better, and then you manage to get that ride done that you might not have thought possible in the morning. That's when your fatigue is quite high. You can use the morning and the evening to your advantage. Besides from that, just whenever you can fit it in with life. Okay, one really long question here, and the person said to ask them as separate things. So, if Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes made bikes, and you had to ride one from one of these three brands, which brand would you ride? So Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes.
Ferrari.
Really?
Ferrari.
I'd go Red Bull. I like the Red. Even the athletes that have like the Red Bull helmets. Yeah, I'll rate it. Do you have a singular proudest cycling achievement? And if so, what's the story? Just a reminder, it doesn't necessarily have to be a race. It could be a KOM or something. Or a day you bonked and then kept pushing on. I've got mine, I'll go first. Mine was the stage, mine is a race. The stage when I got in the Philippines, for multiple reasons. Firstly, just how brutal the conditions are there. It's unbelievably hot, and then the prep I had to do to get ready for that, I'm proud of, because it's very, very complex and not a standard prep you do for a normal race. And also because I crashed earlier in the race, I think it would have been really easy for me to just go, I crashed. I had really sore ribs, I could hardly sleep or ride out of the saddle, so it would have been really easy just to float through or DNF, but I didn't. And I kept going and got a stage win later on in the race. And everyone else got diarrhea at that race, and I didn't. Literally everyone was just, got sick, and I managed to stay healthy. So that was also good. Yeah, just lots of things that could have gone wrong that I managed to not. So that was, I'm proud of that. Chris?
Yeah, I've got lots. Do you know what? The one that actually came to mind first when you asked that was not a super big important race, but it was the COVID Cup. Gosh, I've got to stop calling it that.
It was the national tour in the end of 2020.
The end of 2020. It was a really super hard race series that we did with the team, NRS level, national level thing. And it was like this, we'd put this team together, this squad together, and we never really got an opportunity to race. And we finally did. And it was the end of 2020. The team came together, and it was the stage that you were in the break, and we basically decided to chase you and bring you back, because we didn't back you to win. We decided Jay was a better chance to win, and so we rode in really hard conditions and you were in a really strong break, to ride you back. And we did, and then you dropped from the break to then assist, and we got Jay, and like Dylan and Ben did incredible rides selflessly as well, and then Jay went and did Jay things right at the end to win the stage. And I don't know, it was one of those ones where we kind of went off script, but everyone just like did their little bit, and to me that almost like said us in a way. And that was just really, really satisfying. And obviously knowing that Jay was going to be leaving at the end of the year, there was kind of a bit in that. So I don't know, that just popped to my head for the first thing. But that's a cool question, actually. I'd like to think about that.
I like that stage as well, because I feel like that was a very pro. What we did was very, it was very pro. It was very like not, it was like the opposite of amateur hours.
Even
like,
the way I explained that didn't kind of probably come across well enough, but there was something about that. Yeah. Anyway, there's a vlog on that somewhere.
Yeah. So a good idea would be to try to drop a post on the road bike. Blah blah blah. Get Chris to do it, because he's always dropping. He's always got new gear, so he's telling you to do it. And he's like, Coyle's not going to do it. I have a dropper post on my gravel bike. I've got one, and I never use it. And I was saying to Chris,
gravel bike off the road anyway.
Well, I was saying like, I could go out and do a video and like test it dropper post versus non-dropper post on a descent. But it'd be like almost impossible to control because it just depends how hard I'm willing to send the descent. And it would be, if you did like an A/B test, it would be impossible to send it the exact same amount, if that makes sense. Like I don't know how you'd be able to compare. I mean, I guess I could subjectively go down and explain how it felt, but yeah, to objectively test it, I think would be near impossible. And yeah, my descending is not limited by my seat height. What is better, honey or maple syrup?
Depends what you're eating. Like pancakes, you're having maple syrup, and honey, well, that's more of your sort of, I don't know, your sourdoughy toast potentially.
Or in a smoothie. I've got to say honey. Honey, yeah. Got to say honey. I have some questions about winter kit. Come to the right place. Do you wear a base layer, a jacket, both or neither?
We need some climatic conditions.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Like,
yeah. So this person is in Australia. Well, it depends on the temperature.
Yeah. It completely depends. Well, I would personally say always start with a base layer and go from there. Jacket, yeah, big fan. Big fan of a jacket. Are we saying jacket or arm warmers or what's?
Well, that's going to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, jacket and base layer, yes.
Yeah, I think if you can get the temperatures right, just the simplicity of a jacket's pretty pro, and just is functionally good. What I like to do as well is I'll just do base, like in the coldest months in Sydney, and if I'm doing a morning ride, I'll do base layer and then just winter jacket. I think a lot of people run a jersey and the jacket over the top, whereas I use the jacket as essentially a jersey.
I've done a video called "You're Doing Winter Clothing All Wrong," and that's the outcome of that video. That's a good setup.
Do you wear long finger gloves? Personally, I'm a big yes. It's like as soon as if it gets below about 18 degrees Celsius, I'm a full finger glove. So I find I really hate having cold fingers. Totally avoidable.
Yep, big fan. Big fan.
Neck warmer. I'm a big buff guy. That sounds weird. I'm not a big buff guy. Yeah, big on the snoods, the buffs, neck warmers. It's just one of those things you can wear that keeps you very comfortable and really doesn't overheat you much.
Yep.
I'm definitely, big neck warmer. Should I wear long sleeve jersey and bib nicks or short sleeve jersey and shorts with warmers?
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, the warmers give you flexibility. So at the Snowy Classic there, that was a 5-hour bike ride that was starting in 6 degrees and we knew it was going to finish around 20 degrees. So in that particular circumstance, you knew that at some point you're going to be cold in the morning, but on that last climb, 20 degrees, you just wanted to be sleeveless, right? So that's an arm warmer situation every day of the week. Now, if you're just doing a 2-hour ride and you know it's going to be basically, 12, 10, whatever, sub that for the whole ride, then it's a jacket situation. Because at no point are you really going to be overheating. And if you are going to be overheating for a period of time, it's not going to be long enough to care that much. So obviously circumstance plays a different role. But for pure comfort's sake, I would definitely say long sleeve jersey. I'm a big fan of it. Our long sleeve training jerseys, which we ran this morning, perfect for that. It feels nicer than warmers as well, because warmers can kind of cut you up here and it sort of feels like a bit of a split. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think bib tights or bib tights.
You mean like longs?
Yeah, longs. I think they look crap. I think bib shorts and leg warmers looks better, personally.
Yep.
Yeah, just and then the awkward interface at the ankle with the sock, like a little bit of sock, and it looks not good. But then they're so comfortable compared to leg warmers.
Yeah.
So, fashion over function, maybe. Asking as an Aussie going into winter weather soon. Well, where are you in Australia? I mean, could be Brisbane winter or you
Yeah.
Wagga Wagga winter, Canberra winter. Would you rather race without clipless pedals or with flat handlebars?
Can I just quickly say on the oh geez, don't pull out. Oh, he's going to pull out, you clown. Just on the winter thing, get a couple of different base layers. Like get a merino short sleeve, get a merino long sleeve, get a thinner one, and then your jacket. And honestly, like that will cover you for heaps and heaps of stuff. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No clipless pedals or flat handlebars?
I'd go flat
Flat
handlebars.
handlebars.
Yeah.
Imagine doing a race in runners.
Yeah.
No chance. No.
Yeah.
You couldn't. Oh, no. No. Wonder if you have a proper pre and post ride stretching routine that you can share. Maybe do a video would be helpful. No, I don't.
You don't, do you?
I'm not big on stretching. I prefer like releasing or sort of massage ball. I feel like that does more for releasing tension than stretching. I've done a video on like ranking recovery methods, like ice baths and foam rollers and stuff, which you might want to check out. But stretching routines, nothing. I mean, if you want to look up a stretching routine, just Google this YouTube search one. There's nothing groundbreaking.
See, I do a stretching routine before I go to the gym. Like, you know, quads, hammies, glutes, that kind of stuff. And I don't do it before a ride. I don't know why. Anyway.
I'm not against, if it makes you feel better, do it.
I
But
think
I'm
it
not
is.
going to do a video on one.
Yeah.
Then, well, that's another thing is like, there's some people that have like, can't go for a ride unless they do like a 30-minute activation where they've got the stretching and then they're doing glute activations and this and that. And then it's just like, how you get any training? You waste so much time doing all this stuff. I'm sure half of it you could get rid of, mostly in your head. Hi Jesse, do you often ride behind your team car for training, so getting used to high speed? So Motopacing. I believe it helps to get more comfortable at high speeds for racing, but does it really make much of a difference? Thank you from Slovenia. I personally don't do it. Don't ever do Motopacing.
Miles does.
Miles does a
Cooper
lot of it.
does.
Yeah, so it's a
Hill does.
yeah, I believe.
Not behind the team car. But
Yeah, they'll
that's
go
just-
behind a motorbike. Yeah, have someone that does it. I believe it helps you get more comfortable at high speeds. Yeah, it definitely would. Gets you, if you're just clocking along behind the motorbike at 50k an hour, it definitely helps you get used to it. I've never found personally that I need it. Like, I'm quite happy to I'll train on my gravel bike and go out and do a country handicap where we average 50k an hour for 2 hours and I'm perfectly fine. But that might not be the case for you. So I definitely think there's some merit in it. It just
Massively,
is
definitely.
Yeah. It's just the hard. I don't necessarily think it's a big win, and I think it can be hard to organise. But yeah, if you've got access to it, give it a go. But I also race a lot locally, and it's not the same thing, but I still do lots of crits where you're getting some of that.
I just ride behind Jesse Coyle. That's my Motopacing.
We do that sometimes. Or even the chop we do in Centennial Park, you're averaging, some nights it's 47,
Jesus,
48. Yeah. So maybe that's why I'm saying I don't need it when I actually get it. Just naturally. Why are you both so obsessed with Rapha stuff?
Who asked this? No, don't worry.
I personally don't think I'm obsessed with. I'm not really like that obsessed. I'm not really a gearhead, so I don't think the only Rapha thing I'm really obsessed with is the shoes that I go on and on about. But that's just because they're amazing shoes. It's not, and they look good, and they're very comfortable. I don't think it's because they're Rapha specifically. But Rapha is partnered with the team.
The reason why we wear our team kit is Rapha is because they're a partner of the team. So we're not going to wear Castelli bib shorts because it's not what we're going to do. But yeah, obsessed. It's what we have access to.
Yeah.
Like, you know. Look, I don't know. I could go on a rant with this. Will I go on a rant with this? No, it's probably pick your battles, Chris. Pick your battles. Whoever you are, I would say this to you. Whoever you are, if your job, your work, go to your boss and say, hey, I got an idea that we want to sponsor an amateur local bike team. See what your boss's reaction is. See if it's like, that's a cool idea. I'd suggest it's probably not that reply. So to get an actual brand that comes on board and sponsors an amateur bike racing team at this level is massive. So we're going to always try and do our best to promote that brand, but also be kind of genuine about it as well. So anyway.
How can I refuel with hypoglycemia? Meaning low blood sugar. How can I, maybe this is
We're re-entering
diabetic.
Lake Sydney.
I'm not even going to go there because that's like a full-on medical question, which I'm not going to go near that. So sorry. Sorry about that.
Sydney is broke.
So it's actually raining now, so I'm not sure what it's going to do with the audio, but we'll keep going. Hey Jesse, great stuff. Thank you. What value or measure do you attribute to strength training in terms of weekly load? For example, what TSS would you give a strength session, if any? Okay, I really like this question because I'm big on I have an opinion on this.
We were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, so personally, for myself and with the athletes I coach, I don't assign TSS for strength training sessions. So here's the thing. It depends what you're using your training load tracking for, and what I think most people use it for, especially in terms of CTL, is a way of estimating how fit you are on the bike at any given point in time. What's my CTL? In the most general sense is sort of what's roughly my fitness. I mean, on Training Peaks, they literally call CTL your fitness. So for me, I don't think it makes sense for your strength training, which is non-aerobic, to be accumulating TSS, because it will give you this artificial inflation of what your CTL is and therefore what your fitness is. So if you're using your CTL for what most people do, I don't think it makes sense. From a fatigue, so you might say, well, then I'm going to have all this fatigue from strength training, which isn't going to be picked up in the CTL or my TSS, which is true, but that's where you come into things like your wellness tracking to detect that fatigue, and then like how you're feeling, your subjective rating. So whether you're logging that or like rating that, how you feel each day, that's where the fatigue will start to get from the strength training get picked up. But essentially, strength training isn't a aerobic based load. So if it's going to throw off your data. So what I'll do is I definitely want to know when my athletes are strength training, so I log it in training calendars, so I know when it's in there. But I don't include duration or TSS from those sessions because it'll throw off your weekly totals. Especially like if you're looking back at what you were doing a few months ago, and you're like, geez, I was doing massive weeks on the bike then, but like 3 or 4 hours of that was strength training. It's not going to give you an accurate depiction of what, as a cyclist, of what you're looking for most people. And that's what I do. But definitely you will find other coaches that have a different opinion than that would totally disagree with that. So yeah, essentially it depends on what you're using your CTL, your load tracking for. What depth of wheel do you prefer? If you had to, I'm guessing this means like if you had to pick one?
Yep.
Yeah. I like 30 mil deep. I've raced extensively on a lot of depths, and if I had to just pick one, or think back to a time when, think of the wheels that I enjoy riding the most, I think the 30 mil is the best.
Yep.
Bit of aero performance, climbs really well, feels really nice. Yeah, I really like it, and doesn't get blown around in the wind too much.
Yeah.
I rate the 30 mil.
I think I did a video on this where I think we both had this exact discussion, which was essentially it was like if you were going to have to choose one wheel, then yes, 30 would be the wheel I would choose to just do everything I do. That doesn't mean that I don't like the option of having a set of 50s or 60s if I'm doing a long, flat ride or a pure crit type thing, there's definite advantages to that. But yeah, I'd choose a 30.
Yeah.
I think it's nice. Maybe a 40. In that mid range anyway.
Do you think it's best to race consistently on Zwift to gain fitness, or stick to traditional style intervals? Outdoor group rides mixed in for both methods. Okay. So do you do outdoor group rides and then race on Zwift? Or do you do outdoor group rides and then traditional like intervals? I think a mix of both is best. But if I had to pick one, I would say traditional intervals. Because it's easier to... because you can overload and see progression and target specific types of fitness as opposed to just an unstructured Zwift race. But I do think a mix would be best. Like, go out and do your outdoor group rides, maybe get on Zwift for a race once a week for a bit of fun, and then maybe you're then doing some intervals or some specific work aside from that. That's actually, for the riders that I coach, that's what I recommend. Like, there'll be sometimes I say, get on Zwift, do a 30-minute Zwift race, rip in, have a bit of fun. It's a good equivalent to some sort of like a threshold session. So definitely, I think it doesn't need to be one or the other. If you were only, I think it would be quite hard to progress yourself long term in sort of a structured way if you were just ripping into Zwift races constantly. Yeah. Does your rear wheel tyre wear out quicker with that sort of trainer you have?
Oh, we're referring to the feedback one, obviously.
Yeah, I think so.
We don't use it that often. Look, the yes is the answer. But the really cool thing with those particular trainers is their portability. So, we have 3 here in the van that we can, and they pack down to like that. We can take them to races really easily and plonk them down, and guys can warm up, or we can do like we did the other day. It's, good luck putting 3 Wahoos in the back of your car and taking that to a start line. So that's definitely something where it's kind of function over form. It's, yes, your rear wheel does wear out quicker, but we're not putting hours and hours and hours into those trainers.
So that's the last question we had submitted. I'm just going to quickly go back to the Q&A and see if there's any other questions. What are your thoughts? So this is on the video from the Snowy Classic. What are your thoughts on the number tag on the front in regards to drag? I know a burrito-sized handlebar bag is worth 8 watts, so I can't imagine that tag isn't costing you around the same. So this is the front number that you run on the front of the bike. The reason for that mostly is so that's how when the photographer takes photos along the course, that's how they know what number you are, so then you can go and search yourself.
And it's also, when there's marshals, a lot of the time they're different colours, so they'll be saying you go left, you go right, because you might be doing a different route. And just your overall visibility. Guys, slightly off the subject, but you don't realise how hard it is for those guys to get those events to actually happen. And one of the things that they do to make sure that they get the police to sign off on these things is they basically come to this arrangement where every rider is very, very, very visible and visibly part of the event. So please do use those things if you are given them, because it's hard enough getting these events on. Yeah, please put them on. If given a helmet sticker, just run the bloody thing, all right? Yeah. It's a fun though. The
first thing is we run a GoPro. We were both running GoPros anyway, so it's behind the GoPro firstly, so there's a bit of drag off that. And also, like most of the, this 8 watts of drag thing. Sure, if you're doing a time trial, you're not going to run that. For 90% of the race, you're sitting behind someone because you're in a group, so it's totally irrelevant. And if you're not sitting behind someone, you're probably going to be going up a climb, in which case your 8 watts at 45 km an hour that someone's tested in the wind tunnel turns into a 1/10 of a watt because you're going 15k an hour up climb. So I just run the number. It's not, yeah, I can understand nitpicking like that for an NRS race if you had to run something, but you know, for an event like this, just run the number.
Fully
It's all part of
embrace
it.
it.
Yeah. Quickly, anything else? So Sam Hill asked why I replaced the pedal bodies on the Asiomas.
Ooh.
So they were
tipping in so much, Jesse.
Well, they were thrashed because I pedaled through corners when I shouldn't, and they're all shaved down. But no, I thought they were creaking and they weren't. It's the bottom bracket. That's it. Might end the video there. I think it might be well under an hour. It's cool. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, when's our next one going to be?
Ciao. We'll have to go for a drive one day to start
Let's go
driving
drive.
to do videos.
Yeah, what, with the weather we're seeing at the moment, we might be doing that.
I really enjoyed this one, actually. Those are great questions. For all
Super
of you that
questions.
submitted questions, those are really interesting ones.
Yep. Not one
Really
on base
enjoyed.
fitness.
Yeah.
How good's that?
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Like, obviously, a lot of people. How are you watching this? I think would be kind of interesting. Like, is the audio quality the primary part, or should we try and make this visually look better, or you don't care what it looks like because you just put it on in the background and not watching this?
Yeah. If the visuals are important, which I don't think they will be, but if for some reason they are, we can try and we can put more work into it.
Yeah, we'll put a green screen behind us.
We'll do something. So let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.